Hello everyone, my name is Jose Padilla. I'm here to talk about my fieldwork experience so far. I am assigned to East Bakersfield High School. I'm working under a cooperating teacher who was a former teacher of mine for world history. Right now her classes consist of an AP US history class, AVID, two college prep US history courses, and a prep. And my other teacher that I'm working with, I've been cooperating with him with the government classes. So those are all the ones that I'm working with. Both teachers use examples of scaffolding and in different ways. So the first example, there was a student that is in a wheelchair and she has to be provided with notes, and she has an assistant that wheels her around like an escort. Now, these notes are the same notes that all of her other classmates take. However, these notes are printed out and put in her notebook for her by the TA, by the assistant. So I just thought that was a really good idea. So if I ever have a student such as this one, I would go by whatever is in the IEP, and I would have no problem assisting with making sure that the notes are pre-written, and maybe do something like close style, like fill in the blanks, or just completely give her the notes. Because I know sometimes even in my college courses, students needed help with this. So again, you never know when you're going to get these specific students. Students have different disabilities and different special needs and different learning disabilities. So I just thought, wow, like I might want to consider that when it comes to providing scaffolding for any of my students. Now, other examples were framing questions or providing like words that will trigger responses. So, like oftentimes maybe I would, as a teacher, I would say a question, and maybe this question only a few would answer right away, but I'm trying to make sure that I get enough responses from enough students. So again, you might have to reword your questioning, or you might have to provide enough scaffolding so that way the student eventually responds. So I did notice a little bit of that. Now the teachers, they both provided immediate feedback. So when a student was kind of stuck, they would say, okay, well, what have you tried and what have you not tried? What has worked for you and what hasn't worked for you? And the student would respond. And when that would happen, the teacher is able to look into where the student is needing help. So, I'm going to keep this in mind when I'm in charge of my own classroom, because it's very important to not lose students. So we need to know where students are at, where they're performing, where they need that help. And this is a way, like providing feedback. Formative assessments, it could be something as writing something on a board, or, write this down, or, providing questions. Again, these teachers that I'm observing, they ask questions. Not only questions, but they're asking the right questions to get students engaged, to get responses. In one of my classes, we observed the first presidential debate, and the students were to respond, did the candidate respond correctly to the question from the assessor? Oftentimes they did not, so the students needed to make a yes or no response based on that, and then the teacher would go in and elaborate on those answers. So again, that was an example in government. And then in U.S. history, the students were able to do some group work as well as individual work, and I was able to walk around and make sure that everyone was on task, as well as answer any questions or help any students in need. Candy questions. I've noticed that students really enjoy candy. So at the end of class, when students are packing up, this is not time to wait at the door. This is the time when questions are being asked. Both of my cooperating teachers are not fans of students waiting at the door, so I'm going to keep that in mind, because it's another thing that I don't like as well. So how do we stop that? Well, you ask questions to students and make sure these questions are relevant. Not too hard, not too easy either. So just enough to kind of keep them engaged, until the bell rings. So this is a great idea for formative assessment, as well as just gauging how the lesson went that day. I've seen examples many times of this, and it's proven to work, that students are eager to answer the questions. Whether they're excited for learning or not, that's to be discovered, but they do like their candy. Also, stamping is very important in both of these classes. Now, what the stamp means is that this was done in class, on time, student was on task, they were prepared, and they did their work for that day. Now, there's a different stamp for each specific day. So another stamp might mean that it's late, or that you might get half credit for not finishing it that day that it was assigned. Or they both do notebook checks about once a month. So that's a good thing to implement into my classroom. But again, the stamps show me that this student has completed their assignment and they were on task. I walked around the classes and I also stamped for the teacher. So I would be given the stamp. And then in other classes, the teacher actually assigns some other student to do the stamping. So students are given jobs, which is another great way to get students involved in the classroom. So it's not just like, I'm the teacher and everything I say goes. Well, these students can be given jobs and responsibilities such as taskmaster, passing out papers, handout master, where they collect them. Just different job duties that the students can do to get involved. This is a good way to get those students that normally, they're kind of like bored in class. Well, you give them something to do. And also, I noticed that students were very respectful to me, and they understand that I was there to help them. Now, I think this oftentimes comes down to the trust that I built up with my students. This is, I'm going into my second year of subbing, and I've been working with these kids for a couple years. Started as an avid tutor, worked with them then. Now, I'm a sub, and they see me on a daily basis. East High is my alumni, and I'm very proud of where I came from, and I'm happy to be back. So again, just being there as their sub and tutor, I would say has definitely helped my cooperating teacher experience. And not only that, but having my assigned cooperating teacher as a former teacher of mine, now colleague, I just think this has really better prepared me for these 5 days that I have done so far. I plan on doing more within these next few weeks, and my plan is to start lesson planning on my own to prepare for TPA, and to also better prepare myself for the experience. I'm all about the experience. I'm all about taking the wheel and going up there and teaching in class for a teacher. I understand that the teachers have a lot of work going on, and so, hey, why not use me? Use me as a resource. Let me, sort of gauge the class and let me teach a class or two, and then eventually I'll be lesson planning on my own. Now, I'll be working closely with my cooperating teacher with the lesson planning soon. She gives me the lessons in advance. I look over them so that way if I do want to teach the class that day, I just let her know, and I'm ready to go. So again, I'm thankful for the experiences that I've had so far, and I hope that going forward that things get better from here. So I definitely would say that all of my classes this quarter have definitely prepared me, this semester I should say, for the classroom experience. Thank you.